ladies and gentlemen, it's time to zoom into a conversation that's on everyone's mind, the future of the box office. In today's digital-first, attention-deficit world, the fight for audiences, especially Gen Z and millennials, is fiercer than ever. With streaming, gaming, short-form video, and social media fighting for every spare second, cinema has to do more than just put out great films. It has to capture attention where it lives, on Instagram Reels, on YouTube, inside memes, and in the middle of the next viral trend. Now, this next discussion is exactly about that. This session is titled Rebooting the Box Office, Cracking the Code for the Youth, AI, and the Hype Machine. Today, we'll explore how AI's powered audience profiling is reshaping marketing strategies, how real-time trend jacking is turning social buzz into ticket sales, and how immersive fan-driven experiences are redefining what it means to promote a movie today. Because the real challenge isn't just about making the film, it's making it matter to digital native audiences who scroll at the speed of thought. And to tackle this, we have a stellar panel who will be joining us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in putting your hands together for Bhuvnesh Mendiratha, Managing Director of Mirage Cinemas, one of India's fastest growing cinema chains, bringing entertainment to every corner. Once again, Mr. Denzel Dias, Vice President and Managing Director, India Theatrical at Warner Brothers Discovery, who has overseen some of the biggest global releases in India. Now, before I go on to call the next speaker, I would like to remind you to please keep your hands clapping for them. Next, may I please welcome Devang Sampath, Managing Director of Cinepolis India, known for customer-first innovations and bold marketing strategies. Mr. Preetham Daniel, Vice President, India, Southeast Asia, Korea, Australia, and New Zealand, IMAX, delivering larger-than-life cinema experiences. Mr. Satish Kottakota, CEO of NY Cinemas, with a pulse on regional audiences and storytelling that truly connects. Sushil Chaudhary, founder and CEO of Picture Time Digiplex, revolutionizing cinema by taking it to rural and Tier 3 audiences with mobile theaters. And steering this conversation is someone who has his finger firmly on the pulse of entertainment trends. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Karan Taurani, Executive Vice President at Elara Capital. Now, this session is going to be fast-moving, disruptive, and exciting as the audience that it's all about. So please put your hands together and give a huge round of applause to our panelists on stage before they begin. Over to you, Karan.
So looking forward to this exciting conversation today. I think the topic itself sounds to be very exciting. AI, Gen Z, some new trends. I'll just share some data here in terms of numbers for India market. You know, Gen Z and millennials is 50% of India's population. In terms of spending as well, they will go to 60% of spenders in terms of consumption going ahead. So it's quite unavoidable for any consumption business, this kind of cohort, which is there in terms of consumers which we have. So it's very important to make the right kind of content, to provide them with the right kind of services. A lot of CMOs across the country have found it very tough to crack the code because this is one consumer cohort which is very different, right? They are very impulse in terms of what they want. They aren't loyal to brands. Right? Third thing is that in terms of savings, the savings rate is very low. They like to spend on premiumization. They actually crave for experiences and don't mind paying a premium. So I think it's very important for cinemas media as a medium as well to crack this customer code. Two very interesting trends which I came across specifically. One was around the live events business, right? We've all been talking that cinemas, we should reduce ticket prices, we should give offers, discounts to actually get footfalls into the cinemas. But the events business is having a different view altogether. It's growing at about 20%. We are seeing more than 20,000 concerts, events being held in India today. And all of them are doing very well despite the premium ticket prices. And so can we kind of reinvent in terms of technology, AI, to actually drive a better immersive experience for this consumer cohort who's actually willing to pay, and provide to give them the experience? Second very interesting trend was around the footfalls, right? So I think larger multiplex chains which are listed today are still 20% below pre-COVID in terms of footfalls. Now, if you look at this number, a large chunk of this number is by the Gen Z and millennials who have who have rather stopped coming to cinemas or not coming that frequently in terms of cinemas to watch content. So the other big question to answer today, apart from experiences, AI and immersive technology, is the nature of content. Can we actually create content which is Gen Z, millennial friendly to actually drive them into cinemas in large numbers back and actually go beyond pre-COVID levels in terms of broad footfalls? So we'll discuss all this and more. We have a wide variety of panelists with us. So firstly, I'll start off with Denzel here, to bring in the conversation. We have seen the future of South market in India in the post-COVID era. Numbers have actually moved towards 40 to 45% of box office from a 20-25% box office as far as regional content is concerned, largely South-driven. Hollywood, since the last, I think, 7-8 years, has been the range of 15-20% in terms of box office. Now, because Hindi is kind of volatile, struggling, we're not able to get the stars, regional is where it is. Can Hollywood be the next big surprise? And I think the opportunity here is because of dubbing, because of going into the non-metro markets, the kind of languages that we have. Can Hollywood become a 30% box office market share in the next 3 to 4 years? And what are the drivers for the same?
Thank you, Karan. Very interesting question, but Hollywood has generally been stagnant or flat at around 15 to 20% for some time now. And I don't look at it as Hollywood only growing its market share. I look at overall everybody growing their market share. And when the entire market grows, even Hollywood, even if it stays constant on its contribution, all markets grow. I think the key important thing over here is to know that, yes, we had some gap years because of the Hollywood strike. Content was not available, and that's the reason why we couldn't reach the numbers that are there pre-COVID. But this problem of market share, of people not coming into cinema, that is rightly said from a Gen Z perspective, is something that is prevalent to all of us. Now, specifically, if you ask me a question on Hollywood, we have seen a recovery, right? Yeah. Hollywood is back into the double-digit market share. Is that sustainable? No. We definitely need to get more audiences into cinemas. How do we do that? Absolutely, dubbing is the right answer. In the right languages, it's very important and crucial to dub our films. In fact, some of our films, I'll just give you an example, Jurassic World Rebirth, 55% of the box office came from the dubbed version. So if it resonates with the audiences, yes, audiences will come in. And to specifically to your question, it says, can AI help in dubbing, right? Can AI help in translation, subtitling? Yes, I do believe that AI is a frontier as a technology, could help in from a technological aspect of lip sync movements or fastening the process. But for a film to succeed, for our dub films to succeed, it's very important to have the voice artists who actually bring the emotions to the story, who bring the characters to life. So I do believe that while AI would be an enabler, AI is not the solution. AI will help us to make our dubs sound more natural, but it'll never replace the human skill. So from that perspective, I believe that it's always talent and technology together. It's not one instead of the other. It's always both of them put together, and then I do believe that a lot more people will come to watch Hollywood films in the cinemas.
Right. So the one angle is the consumption angle, what he pointed out in terms of the nature of content. Other angle obviously is technology. So who better than IMAX to get a perspective here from Preetham? So where do you see the IMAX screen penetration in a market like India? Right. As I said, the consumers are willing to pay the premium. We have seen with the likes of F1 and many of the IMAX films, wherein the ticket prices were actually 2x, 3x as compared to the normal Hollywood prices which were there. And consumers have come in large numbers there. So, firstly, where do you see the IMAX penetration in a market like India? And at what scale, will the cost also come down? Because somewhere the multiplex chains also have to invest very heavily into IMAX, right, in terms of screens. So, firstly, what's your view in terms of the occupancy levels, absorption levels, expansion levels, and at a scale, can the cost also come down for them?
Well, I think there's, okay, let me start with this. So we've grown about 70% over the last 4 years. We were started about 21 screens in 2022, and we're now at 35 screens in the market. So we've substantially grown, and most part of the growth, so when you say the cost has to come down, there are two elements to it. One, who does the cost come down to? Is it to our partners? Number two, is it to the consumers? So to the partners, yes, if you look at a typical price structure of an IMAX back in, 2003 when we did the first deal with Prasad's IMAX in Hyderabad versus what we do with our present partners, there's a substantial decrease in the price. So there's been a sort of correction, shall we say. In terms of the value that we create with these technologies, the consumers don't mind paying that extra value. And the ticket price has been going up substantially as well over this same period. So the cost to our partners has come down, but the ticket price to the consumer has gone up substantially. And that is essentially because of the value that we create. People, I'd give you a small number. I think the market, overall cinema market's up 24%, whereas IMAX box office is up 70%, 64%. So I think people are willing to pay when there is value. And where does that value come from? It comes from the relationship we have with studios, filmmakers, the technology itself. There's a mix of different elements that bring that value. So where do I see this growing? I mean, we look at IMAX between 100 and 150 screen market in the country. And we're at about 35, so we're just getting started. And we've proven the concept very well. We've entered tier 2 markets. I mean, there's a IMAX in Surat, Lucknow, Coimbatore, so many tier 2 markets that we've proven these businesses can sustain. 5-7 years ago, these are not some things that I would say, an IMAX would sustain in a market like Coimbatore, for example, right? But today we've proven that that's possible. So I think given where India is going and the box office that is to sort of come, I see a huge potential to growth. And in terms of just AI, because Denzel was talking, I don't know, we don't use as much AI in the tech part of it, but of course we do a lot of AI and the back-end processing of the film content for conversion of the content itself.
So, just to make a comparison to maybe some of the global markets where IMAX penetration would be higher, from here, as we clearly understand, there's some sort of a demand-supply mismatch as well, right? Because the consumers are willing to pay the premium, but the number of screens are lesser. That's why the occupancy levels move up. Is that also a case in point wherein?
Not quite. If you take a look at the occupancy levels when we were 21 screens, was the occupancy levels when you're 35 screens, it's much higher. So we're able to drive more people into the auditorium. And it doesn't change. I get what you're saying, because in some markets, you might look at this market and say we are under-penetrated. So obviously, our occupancies are higher. Not quite, because I look at back to say when we were 21 screens, what was our occupancy versus what we are today at 35 screens. We've gone up. So, today, I remember when I joined back in 2004, nobody knew what IMAX was. But today, I think every child knows what an IMAX is and what a movie is. So I think we've been able to drive the tide up and educate people on what this format is, and that's driven incremental sort of box office. And
lastly, globally, there is ample supply of IMAX content also in terms of pipeline, in terms of number of films.
Yeah. In 2010, 2011, when Avatar came out first, we were doing about 20, 25 films a year as a company. Last year, we did over 95 films as a company. We've released, in India, we've released 7 local content, and then a mix of Hollywood, I don't know how many, but on an average we do about 35 films in a year, 35 to 40 films in a year, and they're all tentpole movies, so they tend to do much better for us.
So this is a very interesting aspect, to really serve the Gen Z and millennials who are looking for a premium experience. And majorly in a market like India, which we say price sensitive, the consumer is willing to pay this premium for this kind of an experience. Another important aspect of AI is the cinema chains in terms of the way they operate, majorly the advertising revenue. So Devang, since you run a large multiplex chain, how do you think AI will transform the measurement in terms of ROI and advertising? Because I think many of the mediums of media, if you look at TV, print, they all have proper measurement mechanisms in place, right? Now, how can actually AI transform the advertising medium in terms of measurement and ROI for advertisers, which can drive profitability in these, uncertain or tough times for cinemas?
Right. Thank you, Karan. So yes, first, I mean, just to complement the point on Preetham, when we were discussing with Denzel, to put things in perspective, it's 3% of IMAX screens that we have, rather 1% of IMAX screens for F1 contributed 30% of revenue. So the disproportionately high ratio for format is something that India is looking for. So I guess that's the way forward. And then just to complement on Preetham's point, so since he is the sponsor for the show, so I have to speak about it. So, so advertising, yeah, and that's also part of advertising. So on advertising front, you briefly touched upon that we've lost 20% of the attendance. I guess that's something that we have to start measuring now. We've been time and again talking about the box office grew, the number of movies hitting 500 crore marks are increasing, but are they coming with the footfalls that we are looking at? And I'll come to the advertising piece in a minute, but just to put things in perspective, that again, if we had 100,000 people coming in the cinema hall and any given screen at the beginning of the pandemic, or pre-pandemic rather, now that has become 80,000. Now if that 80,000, the business is sustainable, and can we make that 100,000? I think it's a tough journey. We need multiple efforts from multiple stakeholders, right from the content producer to a technology enablers to a cinema exhibitor. And that's something that we all are working towards. But the common goal has to be that let's track footfalls. Let's not forget about the box office, because जो भी price increase हो रही है box office पे, you are increasing your overheads. You have your rental going up, you have your, the other operating expenses, including electricity and manpower, which is your biggest cost, is going up. So it will be not the right metrics to track on how this net box office is growing or gross box office is growing. Let's track the footfalls. Now, when we track the footfalls and when we remain transparent is where I'm coming to the question of advertising. I guess advertisers in cinema, or rather the advertisers have not taken cinema as a serious medium as of now. I guess India would be one of the rare countries even for multiple formats, not only for IMAX, where to get a title sponsorship of a big brand like this and a cinema hall is becoming challenging, is purely on the reason of, we don't have a data. There are multiple ways to track it. There are standalone cinemas, there are national cinema chain, but then what does advertiser want? What they want is how many people have seen my eyeball. Everybody wanted to bank on that, okay, I want to do War 2, War 2, War 2, and the planning had started from, let's say, in January. Why I for War 2 when Sayyara can deliver higher footfall than War 2 in your cinema hall? And no one knew. Even till, Monday, we didn't know that what is going to happen on Sayyara for Friday. So I guess remaining transparent, sharing the database with the advertisers is going to be the name of the game for future for advertiser. How do you gain that trust is where AI comes in. There are multiple technology available now where you can not only identify how many people are coming to your cinema hall, not through the computerized report that you have in your backend, but also with that tool where you can give real-time access. And then that tool can not only give you how many people had come, but also of what age bracket, male-female ratio. You filter it out and all those answers can be given. So I guess if advertising is to grow in cinema hall, the one specific enablers would be AI by giving the right access to an advertisers, and instead of having that perception game that this is, you know, a brand and this brand does really good footfall. There are many standalone cinema which outperforms most of the big high grossing performing which are not even in notice. So those, you know, AI tools, if can be used effectively, can give a right measuring tool for the advertisers.
And how much time you think this could take for something like these solutions to
It's
actually?
already there. It's already there. In fact, we are using in 8 of our cinemas uh, that, you know, is tracking the eyeballs. Because not only that, I mean, forget, we are talking about footfalls. This not only helps only for advertisers, but in each of your cinema halls, when you are not sitting personally there, you don't know what is really happening at the cinema. Is security allowing? These are the practical issues. And we have found out in many of our cinemas, how do you measure that, you know, the number of tickets that is showing in your point of sale, the same number of people are sitting inside the auditorium? I mean, we don't speak about it, but that's the practical issue that we face every day. And then if you don't measure it, so we have already installed this webcam, which is there with the software, which is monitoring the eyeballs and the bump on the seat.
And this is enabling better confidence amongst the advertisers as well because of transparency.
Exactly. That's the, like I said, that's the name of the game. Be transparent, be, you know, open about what is happening, irrespective of whether movie fails or not. But the pilferage, you know, we were shocked that in those 8 cinemas, with the kind of system and processes that we have, we've already figured out 3% pilferage is already happening at the cinema. So, I mean, it's something that I'm sure is happening with all of your cinemas as an exhibitor partner. Do enable that and then see the change.
And you know, if you look at the internet companies, the platform businesses, rather e-commerce companies, some of the food tech giants, they have seen very good acceptance of these businesses in non-metro markets. So non-metro markets is like a sizable chunk of consumers, whether you call it Gen Z and millennials. Like we had a perspective here from Sushil and Satish, both of you all. What is the real pulse out there in terms of non-metro market, specifically the Gen Z and millennials audience there? Are they also just like the metro market audience who is willing to spend premium for an experience, or they are price sensitive, or how easy or difficult it is to actually get, you know, premium, you know, ticket prices over there in those markets?
Thank you, Karan. Like today, we have to understand where do we stand across India in terms of exhibition sector. Larger population still do not have access to cinema theater. Affordability comes next. In our experience, when we are operating cinema theater from tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 cities, take a recent example of small town Bomadi in Tamil Nadu. Coolie movie, day 1 to day 4, all shows are houseful. So question of affordability is not there. It is about dignity which we can provide to them as an exhibitor, accessibility which we can provide to them which they need, and affordability is not a big issue. Now when it comes to Gen Z pattern is similar across tier 1 city, tier 2 city, tier 4, tier 5 cities. Recently we have added defense screens, and I would share some Gen Z experience or their aspiration. It is very similar to big town. The question is, they are also consuming content, or accessibility to content happen from the mobile phone, but hunger to watch big film is very, very high. So tier 4 city with product like us, we are very bullish on tier 3, tier 4 growth, setting up more number of screens. And I feel Gen Z is very keen to access those points if there are any.
Well, I have a little different opinion with what he has said. I don't see a much difference when it comes to the expectations by a tier 1, tier 2, almost up to tier 3. Probably tier 4 onwards. Tier 4 onwards, you have a variance in expectation. When it comes to the pricing, every tier you go down, pricing expectations are always lesser. So the challenge is, how do you manage the expectations of experiences versus the pricing requirements? However, at the same time, you cannot afford to ignore a 60-70% of the population which falls under tier 2 and below categories. One way of looking at is, would you look at top one, top two categories, which contribute 30, 40%, and remaining 60% is equally important or maybe more important. And that is what is going to give us a bottom line addition. If everybody fights at tier one cities, who is going to attract tier two or tier three below? So I see we have to play around on the pricing between these two locations, and maybe occupancies are better in tier two, tier three, and pricing can be little lower and still give you the same experience or still give the same experience to the audiences.
But when the content is premium, they also do end up paying the premium price. The willingness is high there, just like the metro markets.
Yes, I've never experienced pricing was an issue for tier 3, tier 4 cities at all. The key lies in keeping the price as low as possible. But there the key is held by distribution system of India, which I feel requires changes. Gen Z is not against paying pricing for good content. Say for example, we played some Hollywood content also at a place like Ladakh, which is very remote. And I was surprised they were demanding Hollywood films. And they were willing to pay the ticket price to 200 rupees level. So pricing is not at all an issue if you talk about good content.
Right. So this validates the point that premiumization in cinema is here to stay. And IMAX can also expand, and because there's consumer willingness in the non-metro markets as well. Right.
True. So in case of tier two and below, right, while for a premium content, they would be happy to make the payment or whatever the price. In terms of SPH or FNB, you always, earn lesser in tier two and below categories compared to tier one. So at a per capita income level being lower as the tiers go down, my view, overall spend on the luxury or overall spend on the experiences from a wallet share perspective is going to be still lesser than what you get in the tier one. But at a content level, yes, I agree with him. You pay for what you want as a content and experiences. But maybe instead of going for 4 shows in a month, they'll go for 2 or 3 shows. Because ultimately, wallet share comes down.
And Bhuvnesh, the question for you is in terms of supply of content, moving on to the content storytelling aspect of it. Number of films released have come down, whether you call it the Hindi genre, in regional as well, in certain genres, the number of films have come down in terms of overall releases. That is also to a certain extent hurting the overall box office numbers. Now, with this AI as a technology coming up, do you see storytelling becoming easier? Do you see predicting the success rate of a film become easier? And do you see number of films actually increasing and that can actually drive box office performance from an exhibitor standpoint? What's your view on that?
See, thanks, Karan, for let's understand this particular point on one particular basis. When it comes to the number of titles which are coming in a year, I personally feel so we are actually in an Indian market where the lot of regional languages works, and now the regional language becoming the pan India market as well. So when it comes to the title, I personally feel so there is no problem how many titles are releasing. India is the one of the biggest producing title country right now. And the kind of support we are getting from the different regional languages, basically from Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Bollywood, and definitely from Bollywood itself is a market. So ultimately there is no problem when it comes to the number of titles coming into the market. But yes, through AI tools now actually to make them understand to the public, to make them understand to the different patterns, it becomes very, very easier. Now you will be able to find out the synopsis of the title. You will be able to deliver it in case if something is USP in the movie, the classical example of Sayyara. So right from the first track of Sayyara, when Sayyara came out, so it was more of the music loaded film. So everybody was actually able to find it out that music is the USP of the movie. So now in terms of marketing also, you found out that the Sayyara was actually bang big way on the music part. So when the music got clicked, and slowly and steadily this trailer came, after that few more songs came, and then till the time of release it automatically becomes the biggest hit, and within the Gen Z and millennials only. So definitely AI is becoming a very, very big, AI algorithm is very interesting. In fact, we are actually adapting AI algorithm in our theaters also, which demographic reason we need to target, which genre we need to target. So suppose Jolie LLB is coming, and if you have the database of previous two Jolie, patrons, like who absorb, who watch these Jolie LLB Part 1 and Part 2. It will be very, very easier for us to market Jolie LLB 3 to those patrons. And automatically the the conversion ratio, the success ratio will automatically become high on that particular part. So you need to actually treat every title to be very important, very, very cautiously and very, very carefully. And I believe every title has a potential, has a probability to reach up to a good height. Because now the studio makers also understand what type of title works. Because after COVID, now it's been around 5 years, we have been struggling with the box office numbers and everything. Now till this particular time, this is the right time where actually the studio makers now understood what type of content works at the box office, and they started producing it And if you look at the lineup for the next 6 months or for the 12 months or for the 18 months, this is really, really interesting. And I'm really looking forward for some really exciting numbers in the next 18 months at the box office.
So yeah, targeted marketing towards the correct customer, and that can predict maybe success rate of a film. Denzel, if you can again add here your perspective in terms of how the global marketing campaigns have changed, any kind of innovation you're seeing there because of AI, or maybe this will accelerate the creation of superhero kind of things, and what's happening globally in terms of AI doing targeted marketing?
See, there's a lot more that needs to be done from the AI perspective in terms of marketing. It's being done, but it's not being done specifically for cinema marketing. It's being done for other brands. But I do believe that there is a lot of opportunity from an AI perspective with relation to marketing, right? The first thing we need to do is AI, and I'll just run you through what are the things that AI can help us out with. And there's software solutions available not in India, it's available globally in some form or the other. I think the first thing we need to do is AI can help us make short form content. Now we all spoken about how Gen Z is being distracted by all the UGC, user-generated content. They are scrolling through their Instagrams, they're scrolling through their YouTube shorts. So AI can help develop specific content based upon your film that you have in a short form. Not only can AI do that, it can also test it. There are softwares available which actually puts it out to the audiences, tests it automatically, comes back. So now you have a particular content which AI has defined is working with the audience. AI will help you find which is the right audience with similar audience, maybe like as Bhuvnesh mentioned, a previous film that they have watched, a previous genre, a cinema that they have attended, watched the film. So you can even do a geo-targeting. It finds you the right target audience. It also tells you when is the right time to message, when is the right time to go out and send a message. Say, for example, somebody wants to watch F1 in an IMAX cinema. It will send, the AI can tell you what time to deliver the message 2 hours before the show time in a 5-kilometer radius audience. So solutions like that are possible. Right? There's multiple things that can be done with AI. But the biggest factor over here, I believe, for AI to succeed is data. Right? And in India, as far as cinema goes, data is not available. Right? So it's now dependent upon how we create an ecosystem where AI can learn from multiple sources of data. Right? I don't know what the data is. Obviously, my partners who run cinemas over here have data for their cinemas. But that is so specific to a particular location or a particular chain.
There's no third-party agency giving you a unbiased perspective.
Yes, yes. So when that data becomes available, then AI can build these solutions. Till then, we would be it's all hype, right? Right now, it's all hype. But unless you give data, you feed the data, they're all large language models. They need to be fed the data, so then they can tell you what the right answer is. AI is all about, right now AI is, when AI first started off, AI was supposed to do the job of humans. It's progressed. AI is supposed to remove any limitations that human beings had. It's going into the generative audience. But for our specific industry, we don't have the data. So how do we do it? How do we use the AI? That's my biggest question that I have. There's multiple things that can be done, right? But there's a scarcity of data, so that's the biggest challenge that we need to address.
Devang, you guys are a large global chain. Any initiatives from your end to invest in these kind of initiatives? I mean,
Yes, to take us out for lunch.
That's it.
That's it.
Got it.
It's simple. No, I think he's bang on. The issue of lack of transparency is what we spoke about in my previous round also, is something that we really need to work on. Uh, Data is the first base of any other artificial intelligence. I mean, if we don't have that, how would you build on it? We've been using, like he said, that for a cinema-specific, uh, you know, marketing or cinema chain-specific loyalty program that we run. We currently, I mean, we have about 25 lakh people who are active on our club Cinepolis. I'm talking about active. I mean, we have 60 lakh people database, which is already there. Now that 6 million database is something that we can always play around and, look for like which genre of movie that they saw in the past or how do we target them. So, but I would like to deviate from little bit from that point on having that data of how many people are already coming to the cinema and how do we increase the frequency. I think the current challenge that we have in our hand is the recruitment. Is something that how do we get people coming back to the cinema. We've lost about that 20% of audience. How do we get them back? Those 80% people are coming and with different marketing initiative, traditional, I would say, not AI. Because you spoke about 50% of India's population is, in that bracket of Gen Z or youth. And that's precisely our data also says that only 50% of our audience is that. So don't forget that balance 50%. It's like when digital mediums started coming, we forgot about the traditional medium of newspaper, let's say. But yeah, 50% of people are still there. So we need to have a right combination. We need to work on data. I mean, we've tried multiple platforms like Rentrack in the past, which we wanted, to become active in India so as we can consolidate. The issue is that there are 10,000 screens, let's say 9,000 screens. And those 9,000 screens are controlled by 5,000 unique cinema owners. To go each door and then, start generating data becomes really difficult. As a national chain, we are open. I mean, we do share our data with the production house. The issue lies with balance 50%. And then on top of it, another recruitment problem that we have for now.
you still require an entire DNA change, right? You guys have to become like platform companies, customer acquisition to driving frequency and more efficiency. I mean, it's like technology first, data first, technology first kind of companies. More multiplexes have to become, right? So, Preetham, what are the innovations on the technology side that we're seeing globally? Whether you call it 8K or VFX, image quality, 4DX. What are the global trends that could come into India? Obviously, IMAX, as you mentioned, is like a very big trend, and that will only take off from here on. But anything else in terms of image quality or any innovation that we're seeing in terms of content?
On the tech space within the technology, I think my friends in Barco have done a fantastic job with HDR and what have you. But besides that, I can't think of anything else that's been revolutionized the entire industry. Like laser is something that's been still ongoing. I mean, it's fairly new. A lot of our cinemas in the country, IMAX screens, are still on a Xenon platform, and then they need to get onto a laser. So I think the conversion, we're already digital, but within the digital space, going from a Xenon to a laser is more important. I think that transformation is happening as we speak. There's quite a lot being done on the sound side of things, which is great, but not substantial. There's nothing there. I mean, I always go back to the theory of an iPhone, right? Like there's only that much you can do with a camera, and you can put 5 cameras or 20 cameras on the phone, but that's about it. What you do is that you create an ecosystem around to utilize what you already have in terms of technology, and that's kind of what we are doing. So if you look at the relationship with the movie makers or the cameras that we have, the process of converting a regular film onto an IMAX, so there's multiple different things that we do. And I think it feeds into the ecosystem of what an Apple would have sort of created for their own little product. So I think it goes down to that. At this point, I can't think, I mean, I know there's a lot being spoken about LED screens, for example. I personally haven't seen many. There's one off here and there. 8K, even if we went there, how many people are delivering content in 8K is another question. That's a whole different conversation. But the challenge is, I think the ecosystem needs to be there for any technology to come in, and that all takes time. So I think we're fairly new into the laser, and we're looking. I mean, we use AI on the back end, for example. Lip syncing, we spoke about different languages and lip syncing. We use AI on some of those during our conversion factors, but besides that, nothing substantial.
Right. So with the problem of supply of content, Satish and Sushil, this question is more for you. We have seen that cinema chains have tried to showcase cricket matches, try to showcase some kind of events. You think that is a feasible business in terms of economics due to the poor supply, volatile nature of content that we're seeing right now? Anything you have to share in terms of broad economics or ticket prices, just to offset the negative impact of poor content sometimes?
So it's a
Again, because this is one segment which is preferred by the Gen Z or millennials, and that could actually drive footfalls in a certain manner if films are not doing well in a certain patch.
right. So basically, it works very well when you don't have a great content in the market. Assume you predict, a Sayara, then you don't have a space to, display any other content. But, unless the movie released, you never know that it was going to be such successful. So imagine I block all my, shows for a cricket display or for something else, then I would miss the train to catch and making money on Sayara or same Narasimha. So as the content flow is good in the market, I wouldn't be aggressively going with non-movie content being displayed. However, lean periods or white space like morning afternoon shows in tier 2 to tier 3 cities where the occupancy is significantly down, I would love to explore that. That is one way of looking at it. And two, I think technology is going to play a significant role, not only AI. So, I mean, even in AI, right from planning a better programming, triggering the right initiative to bring the consumer back onto the theater, or effectively resourcing your screen or your Audi in terms of the overall staff in the office, or effectively planning your overall cost of operations, everything gets dependent on technology. It could be AI, or it could be a better planning and execution tool, or it could be any other tech that you can play, which can not required to be a replacement for human, but it can be complementing. It need not be a competitive, but a complementing for a human being is tech. That's one I see. And two, when you use words, tech, AI, ML, or whatever the fancy language, one is it's going to benefit you. Two, it's going to be an attractive parameter for a youth and Gen Z to get attracted. As you use the right word, iPhone. How many of people really use an iPhone's capabilities or really use it? But carrying an iPhone is a brand. Carrying an iPhone is a reputation is for most of the common man in India. So probably using those tech tools, making it more convenient, self-billing kiosks, etc., will give a better experiences, lower cost of operations, and give overall the new age feel for the Gen Z.
Another important dilemma is that what is this youth exactly doing? So let's say 20% of the audience is not going to cinemas. They are largely the youth audience, right?
Right.
Because of limited entertainment options in a market like India, poor infrastructure, whether you call it live events and so on and so forth. Anyone in the panel can share what are they exactly doing? I mean, if they're not coming to cinemas, what are they exactly consuming? Who is the competitor or the threat for cinemas, I would say, to get this, these people back in cinemas?
So, yeah, I just want to add one liner and probably then others, is they are glued to their phones, systems, and you see a lot of, growth in the coffee shops and, engagement places. I think that is the growth in terms of the industry in the last 5 years. I think there has to be a concept, constant effort by the industry, or if there is any regulatory body or self-regulatory organization.
One angle is digital. You consider the biggest competitor for you in terms of audience going away from cinemas.
Okay.
Say for me, like India is divided into multiple verticals. My problem is not that audience is not coming to the theater. Our problem and the areas we are operating, it's a content which is available or exhibition center which is available. So accessibility, affordability is not at all an issue, and right distribution model. So for us in our town, there is no competition. Cities, yes, multiple things. But in our town, which is a larger India, more than 95%, If we create access points, footfall will not be an issue. Like I mentioned, the areas where we have army soldiers or student cluster or tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 cities, if you have a good quality cinema, it's amazing, they come. Like as a company, we are building a grassroots level database and people are willing to come and watch more than one film per week. If we play 2 movies or 3 movies per day, in a week, there is a repeat customer. Customer would watch all 3 movies. So there's a difference.
You believe content is an issue, he believes digital consumption is an issue. Anyone else has a different perspective here in terms of why are these people not coming back?
So, of course, obviously, the most important thing is that current younger generation, as rightly said by one of our esteemed panel members, is that they are glued to their phones. And why is that? It's because they are seeing a lot of user-generated content that is being done by their friends or by people whom they trust. So they're scrolling on that. If they are not doing that, they're seeking out experiences, which is being provided to them from live concerts. They're going out to the live concerts. They're looking at various ways and means of how to spend their time effectively. And this is a generation that requires value plus wow. And we've been speaking about it in one ways or the other.
Wow is bigger than value, apparently.
So value is where they want great deals. But wow is where they'll spend a premium to give them that immersive experience, whether it's watching a film on a big screen or watching a concert with your favorite band. So we are now competing. Our biggest competitor I still believe is YouTube Shorts and Instagram, and followed by live experience. We're also forgetting gaming. There's a huge amount of the gaming audiences or spending time watching games. So there's enough of experiences available. Now the question is, how do we get them to come to watch our film?
What is the solution exactly?
So there's multiple solutions, right? One is we have to work harder, right? It's now we are not competing among films. Earlier, is Hollywood competing versus Hindi or Tamil film, Telugu.
It's a type of entertainment, different genre of entertainment.
It's the type of entertainment that we need to compete with, right? How do we do that? The biggest answer, the easiest answer is make better films. But that's not the answer, right? If we are a country which is releasing 1,500 films in a year, I'm sure that there may be, and the same 1,500 films are being watched on OTT. Means the audiences are watching the film. They're just choosing to watch the film when they want to, at what value they feel they want to. There are some films which released over the past few months, which people were looking forward to watching. The moment people that they trust, maybe it could be micro creators or it could be a certain influential crowd says, hey, don't go and watch this movie, it's all crap. Boom, decision of going into the cinema is on. It's gone. Your ticket, that bum on seat is vanished, evaporated. We have to figure out a way how to fight that. We have to figure out a way of how to make sure that we preserve and get those audiences to come into cinemas. Maybe not just only for blockbuster films. And during my presentation, I said we have to look at catering different types of audiences, not just only Gen Z. There is a young working woman who wants to go and watch a film. There should be a film for her. We should be marketing. We should be creating fan groups. We should be creating communities. There's multiple things that we have to do as marketing.
Like you have in the case of IPL teams create fan groups. There's a fan following.
Absolutely. So there is a lot that we need to do. We just need to work harder. We need to start, living in this our own make-believe world that, oh, we don't have enough of screens. Our screen density is very low. Oh, we don't make not good enough films. Oh, we are a divided, somebody doesn't watch films in a particular territory. We have to stop all that. We have to work together as an industry to get the audiences back, get the footfalls back. And that is completely language agnostic, genre agnostic, cinema agnostic, right? It doesn't matter if it's a format also. As much as I love the IMAX format and go to watch most of my films in IMAX, I do also watch films in 4DX. I do also watch films in a single screen cinema, because a single screen cinema will never replicate that experience, right? So we have to make sure that we not only support a single format, a single language, whether it's Hollywood, Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood, whatever it is, we have to support cinema.
I think the mega trend which was really big in the post-COVID era was acceptance of South-based films in dubbed Hindi markets, North and West. Something of this sort really needs to emerge if you were to save and get back these people. So I think in a nutshell, it's very clear that obviously content is the backbone of everything. Make good quality content supported by good infrastructure and technology and AI and so on and so forth. There is no issue in terms of willingness to pay. This Gen Z audience is more than willing to pay as far as experience is concerned. And we need to work harder in terms of getting the right experience for them so that they can actually come back into cinemas. So I think sums up the entire panel for us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Yeah.
Yeah, my question is to Mr. Preetham. We have talked about a lot of screens in US and China. So what are the numbers of IMAX screens in US and China? And my another question is there any particular data for Christopher Nolan films or Avatar series by James Cameron where the IMAX collections has been surpassed or more demand than regular format? Like that kind. Thank you.
You caught me off guard there on the US numbers. I don't know how many screens we have in the US. We have 1,800 screens globally, of which 800 screens comes from China. So that answered. The second biggest market for us would be the Americas, which is where at some point we had about 400 screens. I don't know what the updated number is. I can get that number for you. In terms of, if I understand your second question, you wanted to know what the data is on the incremental revenue when we release a movie like an Avatar. Is that right? Sorry? Oh, Nolan and Chris. Well, that's difficult. I think both of them are right on top because they use a lot of our tech in terms of cameras, in terms of the marketing initiatives. They both are up. But typically, I would say like a movie like F1 did, the opening weekend we did about 30% of the country's box office. Something like an Oppenheimer, on Dune I remember it was about 34% or so, right? And a movie like an Oppenheimer, we would probably be closer to 40-45%. In some markets like Vietnam and Malaysia, we were at about 60-65%. So we see a huge, I mean it's very different overall, but when an IMAX camera is used and it's been released on an IMAX platform with all of the love and care of IMAX and the program around it, you see a humongous box office on that.
Hi, I'm Justin Rao from the Hollywood Reporter India. Two quick questions. Mr. Sushil, you mentioned how affordability, basically the pricing is not an issue, but accessibility is. I remember reading an article, one of your properties in Ladakh had an almost houseful show of Salman Khan's Sikandar. This came at a time when the film wasn't doing well outside. It got me curious, why were people watching Sikandar in Ladakh? Just because the tickets were cheaper or because they genuinely crave big screen entertainment and they don't have access to it? Similarly, is there a pattern here with War 2 as well, which I believe is playing there? Despite the word of mouth, are people going because tickets are cheaper or because they genuinely crave big screen entertainment?
Answer is yes. People in interior of India, place like Ladakh, they crave for entertainment. We have to understand India. In the big cities, our lifestyle is driven by our work, 9-to-5 job. In interior of India, the lifestyle is not 9-to-5 job. They have lot of time and they want to see and engage and access good entertainment. And India's or interior of India, be it south or north, it is all over star driven. So a star like Salman Khan, Sikandar coming, they will flock to theater. So big star always pulls theater, like I was explaining, Bomedy, all shows houseful. Even in Sardar Shahar, Nagaur, we receive call that they would like to see F1, they would like to see Hollywood film. They don't care if it is a dubbed version or original language. So access is the big issue.
And just one quick question to Mr. Preetham. When IMAX launched the advance for Christopher Nolan's Odyssey a year in advance, it was huge, right? Like people just bought it. Is there a pattern? Can we replicate that in India? Is there a filmmaker or is there a film that you think?
Absolutely. I mean, why can't a movie like a Bahubali that comes out be sold in, or the next Rajmouli's movie be in the same line as Odyssey is? I can't see that not being possible. I guess what your question is how do you even package that movie? So in a movie like an Odyssey, there is a big name, and then there is the use of tech, which is cameras and what have you, and then there's a story, right? So as long as you have all of those three elements within the movie, be it India, be it wherever, India, the most obvious being the size of the market, but why not a movie of the scale of Bahubali, for example, or Ramayan, for example, which we announced as the first movie to be shot on IMAX cameras. A great movie to resonate with the Indian crowd. And so, can it be done? Yeah, hell, yeah, absolutely. Now, why we may not do it is because we only have 35 screens in this market, right? Domestic market for us is a much smaller market compared to doing it in the United States, where there might be a 400 screens, or a NISA in China, which has 800 screens, right? So when you have a scale, that success rate screams out. Whereas you do it on a smaller scale, like a 35 screen platform, you might not see that as compelling as in other markets.
Fair. Thank you so much.
Follow-up question. So who decides to open the advance? Is it IMAX or
Definitely not
distributor?
Cinepolis.
I just wanted to clarify.
No, nothing to do with Warner Brothers, because he's going to 4DX, but...
Brilliant. Thank you to our dynamic panel on sharing your thoughts on rebooting the box office. It was truly a brilliant exploration of how AI, youth culture, and the hype machine can transform marketing into ticket sales. I request our speakers to please remain with us on stage just a little longer. We would like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our panelists, our moderator, for taking our time to be here with us and to share their thoughts on this burning topic. I request Raghav to please join us on stage to present a small token of appreciation on behalf of the big Cine Expo to our speakers on the stage. We are truly elated to have you all here today, and very, very grateful for your time, your presence, and for inspiring us with your words. The insights were truly timely and impactful. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you think our speakers deserve a huge round of applause? Let's give them a huge round of applause, please. I request our panelists on stage to please come together for a group photo opportunity.